So what is video game emulation? Well, it's the ability to play video games on a device other than the one they was designed for, such as PCs, phones, and modern gaming consoles. So why do people enjoy doing this, and why is emulation important? Well, there's several reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so emulation involves creating a software version of a specific hardware platform, such as a Super Nintendo console or an arcade machine. This allows people to play games designed for that hardware on a different device. There are many different types of video game emulation, including console emulation, arcade emulation, and mobile emulation. And emulation can be a technically challenging process as it requires reproducing the hardware and software features of the original platform. This can involve reverse engineering the hardware and creating software that can mimic its behavior. One important aspect of emulation is accuracy. See, good emulators are able to reproduce the behavior of the original hardware, including the audio and the visual output, as well as the input methods such as controller input. This allows people to play the game as it was intended to be played when created. Some emulators are more accurate than others, and some may have additional features that the original hardware did not have, such as the ability to save and load game progress, or to use modern input methods like a keyboard or mouse. Now I think the most important thing about emulation is preserving history, because see, emulation allows people to play and experience older video games that may no longer be available or compatible with newer hardware. This can be important for saving the history of the video game industry and allowing people to experience the evolution of video games over time. Emulation also can allow you to play games that were released in a different region of the world. For an example, an emulator can be used to play Japanese Super Nintendo games on a US console. I also love the convenience of emulation that can allow people to play games without having to track down and purchase the original hardware or software. This can be really useful for collectors who want to play a large number of games from different platforms. Now, with that being said, I will say, some people will argue that emulation is important for preserving the history of video games and making them more accessible to a wider audience. Others argue that emulation can harm the video game industry by promoting piracy and reducing sales of the official releases. But hey, we all have our own personal opinion and thoughts on emulation. Also with emulation, there is modding. You can make it easier to modify and experiment with video games, such as by creating custom levels, changing the gameplay mechanics, or upscaling the graphics of a game, giving you a completely different and in most cases a better experience than the original. In some cases, emulation can be used to play games that were never released. This could include unfinished or canceled games, or games that were only released in certain regions. Now overall, emulation can be a useful tool for preserving, assessing, and experimenting with video games. However, it's important to note that some forms of emulation can be illegal if they involve distributing copyrighted materials such as downloading and distributing ROMs, which are digital copies of game cartridges or discs, without permission from the copyright holder. That may be illegal because it's illegal in most countries, as it is a form of copyright infringement. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Now, I'm not telling you not to download ROMs, and I'm not encouraging you to download ROMs, because at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you want to do anyways, right? But I will say, it is important to respect the property rights of others and to only use emulation for legitimate purposes. Some developers and publishers have released their games for free or have made them available for purchase on platforms that support emulation. So it's always a good idea to check for legal and supported options before downloading or distributing ROMs. I'm just saying. But you have nothing to worry about when it comes to using emulators themselves, because they are 100% legal. Just don't try to make a profit off of them, and just keep them for personal use only. There are a ton of standalone emulators available to download right from the internet, as well as sites that will also emulate games right in your browser. Also emulator front ends that can support multiple emulators that can consolidate all the emulators into one program for you. I suggest experimenting with every way you can emulate possible. It's free, accessible, so enjoy it. If you have been a long-time follower of Your Casual Gamer, then you already know that I love emulation and I support it in every way. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. I say, we keep doing it, we keep enjoying it, and we keep supporting it. And shout out to the developers of these emulators that make all of this even possible. Stay emulating, my friends. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.